Welcome to the Magdalene Voices, giving voice to those silenced for centuries through sacred conversations with beautiful, illuminating souls. I am your host and facilitator, Maria Stella. I serve radiant beings just like you, committed to awakening through love and the deep sacred work required to not only unveil the truth of who you are, what you are, and why you came, but also to express that truth and knowledge through the work that you do in this world. If you haven't already, I highly encourage you to join my sacred circle to stay connected and updated. You can do so on my website, mariaestella.com. I currently offer sacred journeys for soulful entrepreneurs and Magdalenes rising, wanting to embrace, embody, and express their divine feminine and divine masculine essences of being and doing, as well as work deeply with their shadow aspects, ultimately serving the world in its unveiling, awakening, healing, enlightenment, and ascension. In my sacred journeys, I not only facilitate, but I also catalyze the expression of your soul's divine purpose, supporting you in bringing forth that which you are here to birth. If you're curious about my work, go to mariaestella.com to find out more. And if you have ever wondered about your own personal Magdalene connection and calling, whether you are a Magdalene or not, I invite you to download the Magdalene Blueprint that I have created for you. Go to mariaestella.com/AYM to get it. Today I'm joined by Nicole Casteel. Nicole is a vibrational healer, facilitator of soul medicine, and a channel for ancient wisdom and sacred sound. She has been remembering herself and gathering many medicines for some time and many lifetimes. Her work includes shamanic medicine, sound and vibrational healing, energy work, womb wisdom, plant medicine, and integrative coaching. She guides women to remember, embody, and channel their own soul medicine, empowering them to bring that to meet the world. Nicole walks with her clients on a mystical journey of healing. That journey is a deep walk with the goddess, an unraveling of past pain, an awakening of the heart, and an uncovering of the soul song. Her work is deeply rooted in healing ancestral wounds, grief, trauma around activating the voice, using the voice as a tool for healing, getting back to our wild nature, and uniting separation between the inner divine feminine and sacred masculine. She believes in the medicine of wholeness and journeying into integration of all that we are. She stands for those that are here to bring a new way, the way of the divine love. She's an advocate for their voice, for their journey to wholeness, and for them to become who they truly are. She stands for awakening magic, bringing heaven to earth, and she knows that it is our own healing and holing that allows us to become the walking medicine we came here to be. Without further ado, here is my sacred conversation with Nicole. Nicole, welcome to the Magdalene Voices.
Thank you.
We've had some, hiccups and some stumbles in getting here, or you could maybe look at it like hiccups and stumbles, or you could look at it the way that we've looked at it. The goddess has simply chosen for us to come together now and not those other times that we had quote unquote planned.
Totally.
Thank you for being here. My first question, I suppose, is I want to, because I want to know more. And I guess, could you start by sharing how did Magdalene pick you? And not in the sense that you're special or I'm special or anyone else is special, but how did she knock on your door? That's probably where the proper thing to say. How did she knock on your door? What happened?
Yeah, thank you. I'm so glad to be here too. It's such love. I feel such love for Magdalene right now, just like beaming. Yes. So thank you for creating this project first and foremost, and for being, the weaver and and pulling the threads and bringing us all together. That's beautiful medicine. So deep bow to that. So let me just tune in and see what she wants to share. And yeah, I love how I just really quickly had two things you mentioned. I love just you sharing how it's been so like such a journey of the feminine, us getting here, and how both of us were like, here's our plan and here's our schedule and here's the things. And that's been my medicine. I mean, for all of 2017, but just at the beginning of this year is just coming into this place of full surrender, you know, like I am a channel of the divine feminine, and that means embodying it on every level. Yes. You know, and so all these ways, like we think we know what the thing is, it's just getting demolished by the goddess. And it's a hard lesson, you know, like sometimes the medicine is fierce. So thank you. And also I love how you mentioned this, you know, like the releasing of I'm special, but also knowing like I'm special, you know, it's such an interesting, like both and place to be. And that's been big work for me over the last couple of years, is like coming to own my power, but not from a place of ego. Yes. So I love that you mentioned that. So my journey with Magdalene, it's really interesting. I now believe that I have had, you know, I've seen past lives with her and as her, and you know, all the different ways, which I think it's like that for a lot of us, you know, all carrying a piece of her. And the way I sort of see her is she, you know, she's this vast ascended master, just this embodiment of pure unconditional love and compassion, and so vast that now she's almost, it looks to me like she's been split into all like millions of women who are all carrying her energy. Yes. You know, and it's like we've created this Magdalene army is not the right word.
No. Legion.
Legion. Yeah, totally. That's a beautiful word. And, you know, we're all just carrying a piece of her, and we are her, and we're in service to her. That's really beautiful. So now in hindsight, I see how she's been at work in my life, my whole life. Mm-hmm. And so I was raised Catholic. And so I knew the story of Mary Magdalene, you know, and I had always had a very close affinity to Jesus, to Yeshua. Yeah. And so it's been like a kind of unlearning of the doctrine and the paradigms, you know, like the way. And so I sort of went through this thing where I was like, no, I don't want to have anything to do with any of that. Like, I don't care. Jesus, nothing, no, none of it, you know, because I had been like, I loved Jesus as a little girl. That was one of the first things my mom tells me, one of like her first memories of me is singing. I think I was like 3 years old and singing at church and just singing like, praise Jesus, praise Jesus. So I've always been in service to the bloodline of Magdalene and Yeshua since I was, you know, that's what I came here for. But I kind of had to like unlearn that and then be initiated into the truth.
Yes.
And so, you know, it's always been in my blood. And so where it really began for me was in 2016. I had started my business as a life coach. Yeah. And I think I told you this when we first spoke. And at the beginning of 2016, I did that kind of entrepreneurial thing of like, I'm jumping off the cliff. You know, I had been doing other various jobs, and I went to school for music. I studied opera. So I was a performer for a while, and I always was kind of like piecemealing myself together. And 2016 felt like, okay, I'm going to jump off the cliff. I'm going to do the thing. I'm going to be me, the conglomeration of all of these things, or at least that's what I thought. Yeah. And so 2 weeks after I, you know, quote, launched my business, that thing, you know, I found out that my dad was diagnosed with a terminal cancer. And so, I mean, it was literally two weeks into 2016. And, you know, I was like hustling and signing clients and like, go. And I will never forget just like being out in the car. I was on a client call, actually, a new client. And my mom and my sister, everybody was calling me because they had just gotten the news. And then nobody could get through. So they called my fiance, Christopher. And, you know, it was an initiation. Yeah. And so we went into this process of my dad's death process. And through this time, so he died in March of 2016, he transitioned out of his physical body. Yeah. And during his death process. It was so beautiful. I remember I was at his bedside. He transitioned, in hospice in their home, in my family's home. And something just shifted in my cells, and I didn't know it at the time, but I began to channel Mary Magdalene. And, my whole family, my whole lineage is all wrapped up in the Yeshua Magdalene bloodline, like my actual ancestors, like it's in the blood. So I think my mom was even really feeling a lot of Magdalene medicine, but, she's not really tuned into that. But I just began to, sing and work with essential oils. Like I had never really worked with them. And a couple of friends gifted me a whole bag of essential oils. And I had started, rubbing frankincense on my dad's feet. And so essentially I was anointing his body. Yes. And I started to wake up, and it was like, I just knew what to do, girl. Like I just knew what to do, and I knew which tones to sing. And it was that moment where it was like, I don't know what the F is going on, but I'm so in service in my heart right now. And I feel so deeply that I don't care. Yeah. And that's her, like just a vessel, the chalice of divine love. And so, and I didn't get it at the time, as I said, but afterwards, looking back, I was like, oh my God, I was channeling Magdalene. When my dad actually did take his last breath, my sister and I, we cleansed his whole body, and I had people friends that were like, are you kidding me? You did what? And to my egoic mind, my mind was like, what? But I just knew what to do. Yeah. And so that was when she really started to work with me. Okay. And then shortly after that, everything shifted for me. That was what I would call my awakening or beginning of it, which I hate that term, but it's all an awakening. But so shortly after that, I started hosting women's circles. And long story short, I got called to begin working with different plant medicines. So ayahuasca and cacao. Ayahuasca is, native to Peru. I'm sure you're familiar, but for anybody watching, she's a grandmother teacher plant. She's a visionary plant. She is the combination of two trees, and she's a master healer. And I got called into that work, and my first ceremony sitting with plant medicine master teachers was on Mary Magdalene's first feast day. July 22nd of 2016. So this was when the Pope had finally elevated her, and everything started to shift for her. And I channeled her in that ceremony. She came in, and I felt her, and I saw her, and it was like, she was like, hey, I'm here. You're doing a thing, this is your work. Yes. And I channeled her through song, and it was deeply profound. And, it was like all these big pieces were coming in, and now looking back at them, I'm like, whoa, I see what had been happening. Yes. So that, was my first real and true, me aware of it experience with her. And then yes.
No, I'm just because I think it's a very, very valid point for listeners and viewers that very often we don't realize what's going on in quote unquote present time, because in present time we're in the divine timing. We're just just in this space, and it's only in hindsight that we realize that we see these markers or milestones, or because I agree that for life is all an awakening journey or an ascending journey or an unveiling. I call it the unveiling. And so what I call what you describe is unveiling, and those unveilings happen when we're ready, because we can work, or we can be in a space where we're not able to see, and then in such a profound experience as that was, a veil is lifted, and you're ready to step into the next realm, or the next part of your journey. That's how I see it. And I wanted to ask you, because there are two things you say. You said the unlearning, which I think is so important as well, and I would like for you to talk more about that, and then also initiated into the truth. Those two are combined. So would you speak a little bit about because I think my experience and I want to say this in terms of what you said about Magdalene being split into pieces. I think that's what I now get the goosebumps that I didn't understand when I started this show and podcast. I did it because I was told to, and I had I'm like, you want me to do what? Like start like what? And it was only when I started reaching out to people and realizing that they said yes every time. It was like, you say yes, and now I see it as I've spoken to I'm not sure if it'll be live by the time this airs, but people where it's like whether or not you're actually a guest on this show or not, just you listening or watching this means that you are part of the Magdalene Legion, or the Magdalene Rising, as I call it.
Yeah.
And we are creating a grid,
yes,
an energetic grid, because you and I are miles and miles and miles apart.
Right.
And so it is with most of the people that I have on the show. But we've made the connection, and by listening or viewing, others are making the connection, and together we form an energetic hold or bond or net grid across the globe, and the more that join, the more light, because we are for the wholeheartedness, the embodiment of the divine, the combination of mind and spirit, or heart and mind. But so yeah. But about the unlearning, because I think that's something that is, I know that I've had to unlearn. I wasn't born religious, but I've had to unlearn things about God and Yeshua and Mary Magdalene as well. And I wonder for you as a Catholic, if it's even related to your upbringing or not, but how did you experience your unlearning, your initiation into truth?
Oh my God. Well, I'm still in it. So let me, I love what you said about, just reflecting that hindsight piece, because I think, so Magdalene is a priestess, and the path of the priestess really is presence. And so and it's like all so connected. I love that. I love how you keep inviting the grid, the energy of the grid in, and it's like it's like a web we're weaving. I see it. And it's like, the more we weave, it encapsulates the planet, and it like dissolves the patriarchy. Basically, it's so freaking beautiful. But yeah, it's, she's a priestess. So this work of unlearning is really being willing to surrender into total presence. Like total presence in the moment, and being such a yes to that experience you're having that it transforms it from the inside out, And so in my work as a coach, it's like, it was such a tricky paradigm. And it's like so many different parts, because I loved the coaching industry. And I don't want to like talk bad or anything about the coaching industry. Like, it's this personal development paradigm that says like, you have to get more or be more or do more to be the thing.
Yes.
And I'm super grateful for that paradigm, which is part of my learning to say yes to everything, because it brought me here. And inside of that, then on the other side of that, really, I had to break that down, because I was like, no, I'm not going anywhere. I'm actually becoming more available to be here. So I had to like unlearn this paradigm of the more and better, and like be my best self. It's like, I already am that.
Yes.
And so, that is such freaking brave work, because it is way easier to like trick ourselves and listen to the ego and think like, we got to get more money and have the thing and show up and do the thing, and I really I got really good at that, really good at that. And so for me, the surrendering into the present moment, that was the freaking scary work, girl. Like that. Whoa. For me, just being has been one of the most challenging initiations of my life. But in that, it's like, what I found was the more I could just be on all my levels and all my chakras on all dimensions, then I became the truth. Yes. And when I became I feel her so much right now. She's just like, speak it, sister. I'm like, I don't even know what I'm saying, but it's all vibrational medicine, whatever. But when I became the truth, it's like that vibration
Yeah.
I know, I'm a vibrational healer. So it started to like shake off all the things. And that was what the unlearning was like, whoa, what's this? This is not me. Take that off, take that off, take that off. And all those things were really serving me in a way, but to just be whole and like to practice being whole, that's the work of the priestess.
Yes.
And then, yeah.
And understanding that you are whole this very moment.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I call it an unveiling, because
Totally.
it is seeing what you already are. Like you said, I am that. That's
I am
that
that.
I am. That. You already are that. And I remember I used to hate that. I know that there will be people who are frustrated listening to this because,
oh my God, totally going to trigger people. Yay.
Because that's how, like, that's where I was like, but give me the word, or give me the thing to do, or give me, like, I want to fix this. I want to find the solution. And it's understanding that I am that already. And for the logic mind or the ego, that does not make sense.
No.
With the heart, that's like whoop whoop, hallelujah, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, it's a switch, because the mind is masculine and the heart is, in essence, because it's linear forward, and the heart is feminine. So it's, and this is like such the thing. This is my work, is reminding people of their wholeness, like helping them remember the medicine that they are, how to be that thing they already are, and then how to switch this paradigm so that the mind is in service of the heart, not the other way around, And it's like, I just spoke with a client today and this morning, right before this call, and we were just talking about the patriarchy, and we were talking about, like this shift into under all of us globally, understanding that it is the masculine and the feminine together. Sacred union, right? Which is Magdalene and Yeshua, and offspring, which is the Sar'a Magdalene, who is somebody I really work with and channel a lot. But yeah, it's like, it's unifying that heart, the heart and the mind, and learning how to just be totally present in yourself. And that's the unlearning. It's like finding the vibration of your truth, and singing it so damn loud that it shakes off anything that's not a match for that. And that is brave, bold work.
Yes.
And we model it by being it.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And very often, because as you mentioned, the priestess path, very often that's not a pretty picture.
Nope.
It's not the thing that you see in the coaching magazines.
Oh my God, totally.
In front of the jets and I don't, because I used to quote unquote live that life. I used to, and again, I have had a journey of surrendering and releasing for the past, seems like forever, right? And it's a continued process in order to be that I am.
Yes.
You mentioned Sar'a. And I know that you have a very special connection with her. And, would you tell us more about that?
Oh my God, that makes my heart just like, oh my God, I just feel her so strongly.
Yeah.
So, whoa. Yeah. So when my next big piece with the Magdalene journey was when I went to France last year. Mm-hmm. Yes. I went on this retreat called Soul Adventures with the darling and oh so powerful Lisa Fabrega. And check out her work if you guys haven't seen it. But she's a total
include, if you're listening to this, I will include links in the blog post and so forth.
Awesome. And so, we went on this pilgrimage into the divine feminine, into the south of France, and we went up to the cave, where it is said, so the story goes that Magdalene lived the last, maybe 30 years of her life in this cave. It's in Saint-Baume in the Languedoc, Provence type of area in the south of France. And, she lived there with her daughter, with Sar'a, and who sort of, Sar'a really embodies this, the way I experience her. I mean, she's total union. So she's this like rainbow energy, like perfect union of the masculine and the feminine, which is really like my energy signature, like rainbow, 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 breaking down gender roles, just breaking down all the roles and just being wholeness. And so when I went to the cave, oh my God, just, if you guys ever get a chance to go, I hope to be leading retreats there by maybe this summer, maybe next summer. But, we hiked up to the cave. When you get just probably 15 miles, within 15 miles of the area, everything shifts. The air, the feet, like whoa, my crown chakra just went, and I was like, oh my God. And I was remembering, my cells were remembering being there in an actual physical incarnation. Yeah. And so if you're familiar with the Cathars and the Knights Templar who defended the Christ light, I'm sure, I know I lived there at that time. So we hike up to the cave, and, it's an initiation when you hike up there. Magdalene, she does not play around. She's like, okay, you're here. I'm going to show you your shit. And it's probably not going to feel good, but it's the deepest level of unconditional love. It's a real unconditional love, which means I'm going to trigger you until you get it. Yes. Not, oh, I love you, la, la, la. No, that's not how she works. I love her. It's like, here's your shit. Love. Yeah. Like, totally. And so when I walked into the cave, one of my like core soul wounds that I carry is abandonment. That's just something I'm here to heal. Yeah. It's this mother wound. Yes. And I felt it on the deepest level. And when I walked into the cave, there's this big, beautiful statue of her. There's a big, it's a church. So these monks live up there and hold mass, which was a little triggering for me because I saw how the patriarchy, like slyly, like we're trying to do a thing here on the, so save that for another conversation. But I basically fell at the feet of this statue, and all this abandonment came up, and I was weeping and wailing and just, I couldn't even believe it. Just like bowed at her feet, and this beautiful statue, it's like in the corner of the cave, and it's wet and it's dark. Not what I thought she was, like my egoic idea of like Magdalene, like it wasn't like that. She was like, I'm dark, I'm the shadowy goddess, and I'm going to show you your stuff, and you're going to own it. And that was when I really understood, like, whoa, I have a huge shadow because I have a huge light, and I'm integrating the both of them. Yes. But what was so cool was I remembered being there, and I felt on every level of my being, like I am Sar'a Magdalene, and it's that piece of like, I'm her, but I'm not. I'm also not. It's the mystery. You can't put it in a box. But I had, and then when I came back, I started having dreams about being her and like leading the Cathars and like having all this armor on and like being this warrior, priestess, goddess, and like being in the cave with all of the Magdalenes, and we were like tending to each other and teaching each other and practicing magic and alchemy and all of the things. And then I was sitting with ayahuasca, and I just asked ayahuasca a few months later, like, just show me who I am. And she told me, like, your real name is Sar'a. And I was like, okay, what the hell does that mean? So that's when I started working intimately with Sar'a. And, she's just this, the best way to describe her, how she wants to be shared with the world is she's the union of both of them. Yeah. So she's, 50% masculine and 50% feminine, and she is that unification. And so she's that medicine of wholeness. Yes. But her story, like the way I've read it, there's lots of different texts that talk about her, yes. How she had to be kind of hidden and, all this stuff.
And this is where it's important, because as, with this episode and many other episodes, there are many different sides. What I am trying to do with the show is show as many sides. It's like it's like a diamond, there are sides to the diamond, and whichever way you look is the one that's clear for you. This show is never about giving you my truth. It's about you finding your truth.
Totally.
And so
beautiful.
I always invite people, and I do this, in my teaching and in my work, I always invite people to take what serves them and leave the rest. Because I believe that we're spreading, this is, planting a seed, and yes. Whether or not it's supposed to sprout is really not up to me or to you.
Totally.
You've made a contract long before you came. If you're listening to this, then this is probably, you're watering your plants, and it's, so I always say that, because I've had others on where, they have their version of it, and it's, none of us really know which one, quote unquote, is true. We only know
Right.
what's true for us.
Well, oh my God. Yeah, totally.
And yeah, so it's about discerning is not the right, but it's about again the unveiling, so that you may be able to feel from within, see from
Mhm.
within, hear from within, smell from within,
Yeah.
sense from within,
Hmm. Hmm.
that which is, and it's like you mentioned about the vibrational match. It's about becoming
Yes.
that, or not
Yes.
becoming, shaking off those layers, unveiling yourself,
Hmm.
um, s- so that
Well,
when,
it's resonance, I think.
yes, exactly, that's the word.
Yeah, that's the word. Yeah, like I saw it trying to call me, and I'm like, it's resonant. Yeah, totally. Yeah, and this is it, because the new paradigm is like what it used to be was, here's the truth,
Yeah.
model it, work the system, and then the new paradigm for us that we're living is, here's my truth,
Yes.
and if it resonates, it's reminding you of yours, and it doesn't mean you have to wear it, be it, own it, even like it.
No.
But if it resonates in your heart, which that's the mystery, the thing that cannot be understood by the linear mind, then it's reminding you of who you are, and that's all we're doing really as priestesses, is we're being, that's the unlearning. That's that truth piece. It's like we're unlearning all this shit so we can be the highest version of our truth. And then we embody that. And it's like a trigger, and it ignites people, because I see women like on Instagram. I love Instagram.
Yes.
Such a great, beautiful tool.
Yeah.
And how we met, and I'll see women who, like, they're speaking their truth, and it will sometimes trigger me. And I think, like, I don't agree with that, but there's something that resonates.
Yes.
And what it is it's them being so fully in their, like, yes, this is me, and owning that it helps me do the same thing. And I really believe that's the medicine of the future, is that.
And it's noticing, like you said, remembering,
Mm-hmm.
reminding,
Mm-hmm.
reunion. You didn't say reunion. That's me saying that. But
But
it's,
yeah.
so it's a re. It's not. So it's re-putting back together the pieces.
Yeah.
Reminding, which means not changing your mind, but remind, like going back to what you already know.
Right.
It's not new knowledge. And
Mm-hmm.
none of these episodes or show that I do are new. Nothing is new, because there's part of you that recognizes that
Mm-hmm.
this is quote unquote truth.
Mm-hmm.
um but
Yeah.
don't take it on face value, like have it be resonant. And I love what you said about the triggering, because imagine if we had a world in which whenever we were triggered, rather than unleashing ourselves and lashing out, we
Mm-hmm.
were able to ask ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
what is this teaching me? What is this
Exactly.
showing me? What is this an opportunity for me to heal?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
When you said that, I was like, ooh, like what, like that. And I will say that is the world that I am here for, work
Yeah.
for, do my work for,
Totally.
is it's elevating the love to a point of where we're able to do that, and also hold space for each other, because there are
Yeah.
times when we will lash out, but I want to be part of a community where when I lash out, I am asked, are you okay? What's going on? Like, this is not
Mm-hmm.
like, what's happening? How can I help?
Mm-hmm.
Rather than, because then it becomes, because that's what I like, that's the space that I hold, is that whenever I see someone on the street, or when I see people lashing out, I'm like, I send them love, because I know that they it's, I think it's Marianne Williamson that says that uh, your actions are either a sign of love, or a sign of lack of love. Like either
Totally.
they're based in love or a lack of love, and that's so beautiful and
Mm-hmm.
and true for, I believe, for me.
Mm-hmm.
What was the question that came up in terms of, and so will you share a little bit more about, because I really want to hear more about Sar'a, or the way that Yeshua and Mary Magdalene, how they show up for you, and
Mm.
if you want to, of course, I'm not going to force it on you, but I would love to hear it. And then I know that we're also going to, you're going to graces or with you have your singing, that you're a vibrational healer. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm like,
your heart's like, give me that medicine. Yeah, that's usually how people get.
But I was wondering if you would share more. I'm also the thing of, because one of the biggest parts of forgiveness for me over the past couple of years have been forgiving the church and forgiving, like you said, like the placement of the different churches that has been built upon sacred sites. And so that's part of my work still is that forgiveness piece in terms of and I guess for me it's also about the white savior syndrome and how Christianity and white supremacy and patriarchy has effed up the world and has effed up a lot of native cultures, and it's just but like you said, that's for a whole nother so I suppose
that's for our 5-hour broadcast. Tune in later for that.
It's just it ain't right. And so would you share a little bit about how you see her, or how you work, how she shows up for you, like
totally,
and Sar'a as well. And I love what you said about the divine union and the divine feminine and the divine masculine, because that's basically what I like. That's where I come from, is that the creating the sacred marriage, the holy union, the divine union within ourselves, both created in the world as well. So
totally.
Will you share a little bit about Sar'a?
So she's really pushing me to just say the word compassion. So I'm just going to say the word compassion. And I think, and she's wanting me to just touch really briefly on that very important point that you brought forward, that, when we see something in the world, it's not asking for us to make this is totally her, it's not even my words, but it's not asking for us to make an assessment of, is it right or is it wrong? It's asking for us to just invite it into our heart and love it and forgive those places in us where it also lives, because we are all God walking around, and surrounded in so much compassion that it alchemizes it into its highest form. And that's big work, because the mind wants to say, oh, that thing's wrong, so let me start talking about how that thing's wrong, that, and it grows it, right? And so that's hard for me, because I do have a big ego. Like, I will own that, and I think for all of us who are like, light leaders or whatever, like we do have a big ego, like, it's just the truth. And thank God, because it supports us. Like, all that shit of like, eradicate your ego, I don't actually believe in that. Like, we're here to have a human experience. We're here to learn to love our ego and be like, come here, little ego, just let me hold you in my heart. You just steer, it's all going to be okay.
It's mastery through love. Totally. That comes from A Course in Miracles, but it's mastery through love. It is the transmutation of from fear to love. That we can only when you say alchemize, that's what we are. We are the alchemists. We are the connectors between heaven and earth. That's us. And so yes, I agree in what you said about the ego. It's about loving it because through the love it dissolves itself, and not in the sense that we don't ever have an ego or an it, but in the sense of what we're here to do and where we come from in doing that.
Right, totally. And it's just aligning that human will with divine love. For me, in my experience, and I mean, compassion is that has been my work. Like, let me love that more. Let me love that more. Does that trigger me? Let me love that more. Let me love that more. And has been transformative for my life.
Tough work.
It is tough work.
It's like, it's when you when you don't want to love.
Right.
That, and that's not the way of the world. It's not like, that's not like, when you say that, it's like, but what they did was wrong. Like, how can
Exactly.
you love perpetrators or abusers or whatever? But it is
Right.
only, and that's my experience, it is only through the love that we can dissolve it. Because it
Yeah.
does that doesn't mean that we don't have rules and regulations and laws and so forth, because we have decided that as a community or as a whole, as a
Mm-hmm.
global community. It's that's
Mm-hmm.
not it. And it doesn't mean that we don't seek out truth or justice for quote unquote crimes committed, but it doesn't mean that we pull in compassion, and we pull in forgiveness, and we pull in
Yes.
redemption, and we pull in those things and give
Mm-hmm.
people a space and a place to so I always say,
Yes, a space and a place.
working with love can it very often is perceived, or I would say that people who really work with love realize that it's not, airy fairy light, whatever.
No,
It is deep, it is dark, it is transformative,
totally.
it is healing. And
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, if I could, I wouldn't have chosen like that's like
Mm-hmm.
it's not something that I would have chosen, but it's what I'm here for, and it's
Mm-hmm.
why I'm here.
Right. Well, I think it's a shift too between the concept of love and the experience of love.
Yeah, good. Yeah.
Because for me, I was the concept of light work for a long time. And I have a powerful mind. Like, I'm a mind ninja, and I could just manifest the concept of love, but it was all built on roots that were very wounded. So the experience of love takes you into that divine fire, and it will burn away everything that is not in service of love. And that is fierce work. And I love the words that came out of you. You said a space or a place. And I was hearing that right before you said that. Like, we need to be, not need, but what the world is asking for are spaces where people can come and be held. Because, that anger and that sacred rage and that, like, you did me wrong and I'm hurt, like, that needs space too. To say to someone like, oh, you've been oppressed by the patriarchy or white supremacy for your whole life and it's in your cells, like, you just need to love more. I can see why that triggers them. Like, we need to create sacred space where we can say, like, I see you, sister. You be in your rage. Feel it, yell it, stomp it, sing it, get it out. And then I'm going to hold space while you move that shit out. And then we're going to love it more together.
Yes.
And I really that's why I feel so passionately about sisterhood and collaboration and, like, us coming together and holding space and allowing women to, share and move and express that, because it's in their cells, And so there's this way that we trick ourselves into thinking like, well, it's just your thoughts that are creating all of it. So yes, but also it's in your cells.
Yeah.
Like, it's ancient, it's ancestral, it's, it's encoded, and a lot of us are just vessels, and it's wanting to come up and out and be expressed. And I'm such an advocate for that.
Yeah. And we're not, I don't see us only as vessel. I think this was actually coined by, I have a dear friend and a dear sister, again, like, whenever I have someone here, they, you never leave my circle. I just want to preface that. I did.
Oh, great. That wasn't in the agreement. What's it?
I should have told you this sooner. But it was Violetta Pleshakova. She talked about how what was I about to I totally blank. What was I about to say? In terms of we're here to because that's the thing, we live in a very auspicious time where we are able to clear shit from
lifetimes and
lifetimes. So that's how auspicious our times are right now, is that we have the ability to clear that, not only, and we are clearing it not only for the past, but for the future as well, so we don't bring in the same. And that is the shift that has been occurring. And that's why the patriarchy and the divine masculine time that we've been living in, or which has now turned hyper masculine and gone into complete darkness and shadow. And that's why the shift and the rise of the divine feminine and the rise of the Magdalene is not only necessary, but it's a requirement for our next step and for our evolution. It's and one of the pieces that for me is very, very important is that the rise of the divine feminine is at the same time also a rise or a call for the rise of the divine masculine.
Absolutely.
Without quote unquote him. And I don't mean that as an external thing. And I'm not talking about men. I'm talking about the essences of the divine feminine and divine masculine within ourselves. We have to, within ourselves, create that marriage. And that marriage stands for truth, and it stands for love, and it stands for justice. It doesn't stand for the kind of peace that is, just like, oh, let's not say anything and like sweep it under the rug. It's like pulling the rug back and saying, let's look at what's here, and then let's make sure that this gets cleaned up because it's time for us to clean up the shit that's been going on for, I don't even remember what I said. There's some times when things just like
come through.
But I don't think, did I ever give you space to talk about Sarah? Did I?
It's coming. I feel it. They're ready. But yeah, there's so much juicy stuff. And yeah, and I want to say this, like all that stuff wants to be experienced. So you're absolutely right. Like that wounded masculine needs to be experienced because it's in all of us, and that's how, like, it's through the experience that we get to transform it. Not through the seeing of it and deciding it's wrong. That is not ever gonna do it. That is still patriarchal oppression, guised as medicine. And that's what we have to be so careful as healers is, like really delivering medicine that's really based in unconditional love and truth and light, really, and not, the concept of it. So that stuff has to be experienced, and that was so hard for me because I thought like, oh no, that's low vibe. That used to be my thing. Like, keep it high vibe, and that was a way I was really hurting myself. So I love that you brought that forward.
That I laughed, but I get it because
it's almost funny.
My vibe thing is like, I
know.
I told you, like, it stays low vibe if you don't transmute it. If you don't recognize it.
All right. And the shadows, like, they're there. We're not getting rid of them. We're just loving them more deeply and integrating them so that they can go like sit down and drink their tea and not have to like come be like, like you're oppressing me. Because that's
transformers.
Totally. Yeah.
So
I think
go ahead.
I know. Don't you feel so much energy? I feel like 900 people behind me that all my ancestors are like, oh, so I get to speak? No, I'm like, guys, you're going to have to wait. But yeah, I think you're
Magdalene Council.
Oh my God, totally. Magdalene
Council standing, like they are like a legion, and as I said that, I see them also covering the globe. So it's like some call it the Magdalene consciousness. For me, it's they presented themselves to me last year sometime. I haven't worked a lot with them, and I don't know who they are or what they do, but I sometimes I get this where like my spine straightens, and it's like they're
here.
They're just there, like they're my team or whatever.
Yeah. Well, the first time I channeled Mary Magdalene, like, or oracularly, I was working with a guide who was holding space as I like opened to channel, because it's scary freaking work. And she said what first came through was, we are the order of the Magdalenes. And I was like, whoa, what's that? And then like I saw them, I see them now as you're calling them forward. And then she stepped forward and was like, I am Magdalene, you are me, and you are my daughter, and all, all the things. So they're definitely around. It's that like, or that's the order of Magdalenes, really, that we're definitely all a part of. But I'm thinking back to your original question was like, how do they come through me and how do they work with me? And it's so interesting because every time this is the paradox, is every time I think that I know, then it's not the thing. And that is the divine feminine. It's surrendering into the mystery. But just, like for my mind, like how they come through, I mean, through my singing through my voice is the main portal through which I feel them from womb, heart, and throat. And so, Magdalene, I do a lot of, shamanic healing, and I'm a facilitator, and that's what I like to call myself. I think you call yourself a facilitator too. That's how I knew when I saw that in your bio. I was like, oh, we'll get along. We resonate, but
it's not about me. It's
totally.
It's a facilitation of.
It's a facilitation.
Yeah.
Totally. So I will. I see her I'm a seeress. So I'm clairvoyant, if you want to call it that. So I see her, and I feel her, and she'll come through my physical body. Many times when I'm working in ceremony space with the plant spirits or just sound medicine or whatever the medicine, I will see my hands will like turn into hers. I imagine they're hers. I've also worked a lot with Anna, who is the grandmother of Jesus. Mother Mary is, she steps in a lot, but I will often channel Yeshua. And because I work with the Sar'a energy, the union, as we've called it, it's both. I'll feel Yeshua come through a lot because a lot of women need that. And I can hold that divine masculine space, just that sacred masculine of like, I'm not here to judge you or make you do anything. I'm just here to hold you. That's it. And so I'll feel them in my body. They come to me in dreams a lot, but they're tricky because it's like, they're not going to let me get away with like this conceptual idea of them, because that really is what we're breaking down. And it's that trust and that surrender of just like, it's the mystery. Yeah. You're never going to know. That's the whole point. Yes. Yeah. But, really I had such a profound experience. I think this was the same year my dad passed, so 2016. I went to this Women in Spirit retreat. It was this small, sweet little retreat in Indiana. And it was all women, obviously. And Magdalene, there was so much Magdalene energy. And she told me she was going to come through me. And so there was like a workshop where this woman was teaching about sound healing. And this was before I like called myself a sound healer. I still was like, I'm only a coach. And I got super triggered. And Magdalene, she came behind me to my right ear. I'll never forget it. And she was laughing. And she said like, haha, my beloved, like, you're triggered because this is your medicine and you're ignoring it. Can you feel that? And I was like, like mad at her. And then the woman who's facilitating this beautiful workshop, she gave us the opportunity. She said, does anybody want to come up and try? Just like try, and so she put somebody on the table. And my hand just went, and I was like, it's me. And I took this big bundle of crystals and I gridded this whole woman. I just knew what to do. And I just started channeling sound, and I was doing things with my body. It was just, there was medicine coming through, and it was Magdalene, and the whole room turned. It was like red roses everywhere. And I could smell, and it was, my poor little body was like, WTF is coming through. And it was like the whole room went, I mean, it just exploded open, and everybody was like this, and we were all like, like what? And a part of the big way they work with me is they help people die. Like, I am a death doula. So, when my dad died, like that was a big thing all my life, because I've been trained as a singer, but the biggest impact I've made has usually been like on the musical theater stage or singing at funerals. Yes. Like, there's something that happens that comes through me when there's transition happening, and that's Magdalene. Hello. Like, she helped her beloved with the whole crucifixion. Like, that was her thing. He needed her to do the thing to ascend, And so, that was like the first time that they really like came through, and I was like, whoa. And the woman on the table was like, just so you channeled Mary Magdalene, and I was still afraid to say it and to own it, and I was like, oh, did I? Even I was like, yeah, I totally did, but she was like, Magdalene came to me and at my meditation a couple days ago and said someone would be like, there would be medicine coming for me through a vessel, and it was you. And it was just like, so through my voice is how she usually comes, because vibration and sound is the medicine of the future, and it's beyond the linear mind. So when I'm singing and a vibration is coming through, and it's awakening the cells, it's awakening the heart, and it's different than me trying to wrap words around it in the third dimension. Yes. And it's like it's that resonance thing, and people can feel it in a way that transcends the mind. And it's an easy portal for them to come through.
Yes. Ain't it? I mean, I'm like, it's kind of mind-blowing how, again, like, it's about, okay, because we spoke about how we're already that I am that And
Yeah.
it's incredible that we've already been given the tool. Like we
Mm-hmm.
all have, like, I'm not sure people would want to hear me singing, but you know, we already have the body, because very often the body gets shamed, or like in spiritual circles is like, oh, you have to send and you have to be in the campsite, and not realizing that the body is truly a vessel for the divine. It's like our channeling of the love, and making manifest the love, you know, is like what our heart is calling us to do. That's how we make manifest the love in the world. And I'm just, it's when you mentioned how it's the vessel for the future, I'm not sure if that's what you said, but that we already have that tool. We already have that tool, because it makes when you say it, it's the first time I've heard it, and it makes total sense to me, because it's like there's a vibration that, because you know, we know what happened, or not know, I don't know if everybody knows, but you know, I was blessed before we went on, you did something with those bowls that you have behind you that were here, and I was like, it's like it grips our hearts, and I'm thinking that this might be a good lead-in, if you're okay with that, to have you go sit on the floor and for us,
and so I'll head back there, and you know, they were telling me, like, talk more about sound. So you know, seek sound medicine out, you guys. Like, it is real, and it on a scientific level, you know, there's plenty of research to support how we are light and we are vibration, you know, and it has the power to shift on a physical level and an energetic level and a spiritual level. I mean, it is. And I really believe that Magdalene used her voice. I mean, she comes to me in song all the time. I mean, when I've been in visions, like in the temples with them, because sometimes, you know, because she studied with Isis, she studied with Sekhmet, she went to ancient Egypt to learn how to be a priestess, and I'll go to the temple, you know, drop in with them sometimes, and they're all singing, you know, like our voices, even if you're not a singer, your voice is a healing tool.
Yes.
Big time. So that wanted to come through, and now I will move. Yes.
And don't you just, maybe it's just me, but I'm guessing that you might think this too, or have it feel this way too, is that I love when quote unquote science, I mean, it's modern day science, because it's only been around for like a couple of hundred years. It's not right. I love when it's scientific, when, you know, the things that we know intuitively and know, just like because of, you know, the connection, are actually quote unquote proven in the world. I love when that just, I
know, because it becomes a gateway, you know, because people who don't have a understanding of their heart, and they're all in mind, and they're not connected to spirit or body or heart, it becomes an opening. You know, and that's one beautiful thing that, like, the coaching world does, and the mind work, like, we have to open the ego to even get in, you know? And so I'll have clients where I'm like, look, it's grounded in science. And then they're like, oh, and then their whole system opens, and I'm like, and now I can get into your heart, you know?
Yes.
And like, same for me too. It's like, you know, so thank you for bringing that. That's a really important point.
You're welcome. I'm hoping, I think I'm going to, I'll be linking, of course, to your page, but I'm also going to see if you have some resources. Maybe you can share some resources that we can share in the blog post about what links that people can go to and check out more about the sound medicine.
Yeah, totally. Okay, shall I move on back? All right, here we go. I'm going to unplug my headphones, so tell me if the sound needs to Ooh. All right. Can you see me okay?
I can see you. I can't see the bowls, but we'll probably be able to hear them in a moment.
Oh, yeah. Although they're kind of divas, the singing bowls really love to be seen. I think that's why I am here.
We can see the top of them.
Yeah, okay, perfect. Okay. I've got my altar set up over here, and this beautiful statue of Magdalene that I got in the south of France. So set her right by me. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It, every cell of my body
Remembering.
is like, it feels like it's expanding. It's vibrating. It's filled with energy.
Yeah.
That was incredible. And I'm not even sure that, I don't know. I know for sure, because that's what I'm being told. I know for sure that the healing got through and will get through, even though the sound may be off.
Yeah.
But I know that the healing got through, because
Yeah. So yeah, because there's a little, hang on, let me just plug my headphones back in here. Actually, can you hear me okay? Yeah, it's like the melody that wants to come through. It was the whole family. So it was like they showed up. It was Magdalene, Yeshua, and Sar'a, and they were all three standing in front of me in a triangle. And it's like the melody is like, Yeho, 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 Yeho. So that to me, it feels like what was happening in my body. It was like root heart and third eye. It was just like, so maybe our listeners can hear that, and so if it needs to go deeper, and sing it, like go back and listen to that and sing it for yourself, because there's like a triple thing. It's like a three. It's like a unifying thing. It's medicine.
It felt like a calling home. It felt like a coming calling home. It felt like that was so beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah, it's hard to go back up into the mind after that.
Yes. And I'm not even sure that we should, because my mind wants to, did I get everything? Did I make sure that everything that we were supposed to? And I know from my heart space that what had to come through came through. And so I think that this would be even though our story will not end, I think that this would be a good time to end this transmission for now. Totally. Nicole, I want to thank you from not even the bottom of my heart, from the depths of my soul, for gracing us with your presence. Yeah. Sharing with us.
Deep bow, sister. Yeah. Thanks for calling me forward.
Thank you. And to those who are listening or viewing, if you're listening to this via podcast, know that you can go to my website, mariaestella.com, where I will be sharing all of the links to you and to the sound medicine and to your services and whatever else you've got going on. And there will be links in the podcast episode. And for those watching, hello. Just thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Blessed be.
Wow.
That is what we have for you in today's episode of the Magdalene Voices. I hope it served you well. If you are listening to this via podcast, know that you can go to my website, mariaestella.com. That's mariaestella.com for all of the deeds and the details. Finally, I hope you will take a moment to either leave us a comment or review and share it with your friends on social media. God bless.